Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be making a French/disco house style track from scratch. So I'm going to be giving away the project file and samples from this video for free in the description. So make sure to go check that out. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it will be available there for you without a download gate. And yeah, to go along with this video, I also just dropped a French/disco house mix. You can check that out in the description as well. It's probably in the recommended videos. But yeah, if you like this video, you'll probably like that. So go check it out. And let's get started. So, I've got a sample pulled up here. I'm going to delete these tracks real quick. I got the sample. It's called Jackie Kennedy, Under My Spell. It's actually from 1983, a little bit past the whole, disco time, I guess. But it's pretty cool. So, there's this one part in here. Here's what the track sounds like.
Honey, I'm gonna put you down.
And you can hear... there's that part. And if we go through the track some more there's this part. So I think I'm going to take this where it's playing that bass line, but it's got the guitar in the background and stuff. It's just a little bit more interesting, I think. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to search for the first beat of the part that I'm trying to find, which is very easy, or the part that I'm trying to use, which is very easy with this kind of music, because if you just listen to it, you can kind of count it. Like if we listen to this, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward there. My counting there was a little bit weird. But anyway, so I'm going to grab that part. I'm going to drag this back over to the beginning here. And what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to hone in on that first beat, which in this case, it's just this thing. 2, 3, 4. It's like that. I have a bit of latency on my mic, so I can't count in real time. But what we're going to do is we're going to just grab that thing. I'm going to move the marker over so it's right at the start of that. And there we go. Now, what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to actually warp the sample. So we're going to warp it, and then we're going to put it to actually let's unwarp it. And then we're going to put it to 125. And then once I do that, I will warp it. And now what I can do is I can search for the end of this little part. So if we listen... there we go. And I'm actually going to grab this part, I think, because I think that was just the ending of a bar. Usually with these kind of things, you want to listen to the sample and try to take the start of a bar or the start of every 8 bars or something like that where, it'll just be a little bit more lined up. You won't get, there was that little fill snare in there. It was just a little bit wonky. But okay. And you can see this one's pretty simple. It pretty much lines up there, but we'll keep listening. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take this little 2-bar apart. So you can see I dragged the little warp marker over here, this thing, and now we have it in time. So if I play this with the metronome. Now, it's a little bit weird. Sometimes you got to go in and kind of work with it. With any of these kind of old live drums things, it can be like that. Whenever there are live drums or live instruments, it's not going to be just perfectly on the grid. So that's fine. I'll just go in here, and usually I like to quantize the quarter notes, and then see from there, how that sounds. Cool, this one's a little bit weird. I'm going to move that over. We can go in and make our own warp markers if the Ableton ones don't work. Awesome. Now I'll copy that over. Let's make it an 8-bar loop. And we've got our sample. So the next thing that I think I'm going to do I'm actually going to do a bit of processing on the samples. So I usually like to just go in and do a little bit of EQ work. A lot of times when you're ripping these samples off the internet, you can see those very high highs get cut. So I like to just boost that a little bit. Boost the low end a little bit. Just make it sound a little bit more modern. The thing with this stuff is working with old disco / funk samples is they kind of have an older sound to them, which is good, but you need to accentuate it with modern production techniques. So this EQ, I'm gonna put some saturation on it. Okay, that sounds cool. So the next thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get a kick, and I have some pulled up here that we can look through. And the key here with the drums is really just there's not any kind of hard or fast rules, but it's very much about having like big, like very in your face kind of sounds with this style. So you want to just have like big drums. Like you don't want to have like small, sort of like minimal drums or anything like that. You just want something that kind of reflects the feeling of this music, so to speak. So I'm gonna get this kick, put in some quarter notes. Probably would have been a little faster if I did quarter notes for the grid, but whatever. We'll drag that out. And okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get a compressor, and we're going to sidechain the sample here to the kick. Let's do this. Okay, it's a good start. We can maybe speed this up a little bit as well, like 127 or 128. Nice. So what I think I'm going to do next, because I'm really just trying to set up the foundation of this track, is I'm actually going to split this sample. So I've talked about this a little bit on this channel before, but when you're working with samples like this, what you can do if you want to just get the bass line from the sample so you don't need to write your own, or even like a lot of times just using the bass line from the samples sounds a lot better. The way you can do this is just by splitting the samples. So what I'm going to do here is I just duplicated this. Let's just get rid of the saturator on the second one. And then I'm just going to make a low pass filter on this, and then what we will get is basically just the bass. And you can hear there's a little bit of that kick in there, but that's where the sidechain comes in. If you get the sidechain right, you can hear you get mostly just the bass. And then on the original sample, what we can do is we can go out and we can go in and just cut out some of that bass. And now, you can hear it splashing a little bit less with that kick because we kind of made it all work together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a drum rack and I'm going to do some hi-hats. And again, with these, like, really no kind of rules. There is one particular pack that I like to use, a sample pack that I can recommend is Vengeance Essential House, both Volume 1 and 2. They have a lot of those good, like, kind of big, like, hi-hats in there that are good for this style. Like I was saying, like, the drums, not a lot of, like, rules per se. You just want something very big, like hi-hats like this. They're very just like bright and sharp, really good for this style. So let's look for some stuff in here to kind of play with. And I like to get a few options too, like you never really know what's going to sound good until you do it. So I like to just kind of set up a few different options so I can easily work with it later and not have to spend so much time digging for samples. All right, let's get some open hi-hat or some closed hi-hats. We already got the open hi-hats. Alright, that's cool. And then what we can do is we can start making a pattern for this. So I'll make it 4 bars since everything else is 2 bars. So we can just start bringing in the open hi-hat. I always start with that because that's the thing. It's always going to be the same. Oops. Cool, and then once you get that, you can see the vibe is kind of starting to come together. Like, that upbeat really is important there, which is what this hi-hat is playing on. Basically, this note right here, this little 8th note, I'll show you. If I switch this to 8th notes, this second 8th note here in each little quarter note thing, that's called the upbeat. And the accent that you get on that from having an open hi-hat, you can hear, like, already that gets the groove kind of started there. So we can try some of these as well. I like this one a lot because it's not really getting in the way of anything else. And then I'll start bringing in the closed hi-hat. So like I said, like you start with that open hi-hat because that's always going to be the same. It's just going to be that upbeat. And then you can start bringing in these closed hi-hats. And I actually like to use kind of like a few different ones. Like I'll do something like this where it's kind of like different ones doing this pattern. Just something like that where it's not just the same 2 hi-hat samples basically being played over and over. You've got a little bit of variation. So we'll do that, and then I will just make that out to there. There we go. I'm doing the swing by hand here, so it may take me a moment. But anyway, yeah, so we can just make a little variation there. Nice. And then we'll copy this over, and we can just make some more variations from there. There we go. And then I'm also going to go in here, and I guess we can get rid of this hi-hat since we didn't really use it. But I'm going to turn these down a little bit. This is something that is kind of like a small detail I think is pretty important with this kind of stuff. Is like you want to turn down these closed hi-hats a little bit so that open hi-hat can be kind of like louder and more in the forefront. Like, you can kind of see how that fits a little bit better now. Cool. So let's get a clap in here. I'll take one from out of this pack. We can just kind of see. And again, same thing as with all the other drums. Nothing in particular that I'm looking for here. I'm just looking for something that's really going to stand out. But also, like, really fit into the mix well. That sounds pretty cool. Kind of has like a live clap type of feel. We can just put that in here. And then I guess we can try a few different ones. But yeah, like, with this kind of stuff, it's really not too crazy trying to set up the drums, as you can see. Alright, that's cool. I'm going to try and find... Let's try like a 909 clap. Something that I know Daft Punk used a ton, and a ton of the 90s French house guys used was, or French house people used, was like a 909 or like a 707 clap like this. Or a 909. Alright, so this is sounding good. Now that last little snare there, or not the last one, but the second to last one, is a little bit off. I'm going to let that one just sort of do its own on the sample. I mean, like, it was just a little bit weird when I put that clap in. So we'll just copy that over now. And, oh, there we go. Okay, cool. We're going to copy that over, and then I'll just copy those onto the bass track. Let's name these two. We'll name this one main sample. Ooh, I call that main samples. Call this one bass. And then we'll call this one number hi-hats. And then kick, and then clap. Cool, so we got a pretty good little groove going on. So I'm going to make a little intro for this as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the main sample, and we're going to drag it over to here. I'm going to get, I guess I'll get like the hi-hats. Cool, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put a bandpass filter actually on this, in this little intro. So I'll just put that before the saturator. And we're going to get a bandpass here, like I said. Yeah, something like this. So I got the bandpass, and then I'm putting the LFO on it to kind of give it some movement. You got to be careful. You don't want to go too crazy. You can also do a low pass with some movement. Cool, and then on this last little part here, I'm going to automate the filter to come off, so you kind of get like that. Yeah, like something like that, and then we'll have it automate to be off in the drop as well. And now we've got like this cool kind of little intro here. And you know, this is pretty simple. Like, this is meant to be more of like a guide, just kind of showing you how to set it all up. Like, the idea here is I wanted to create something more of like a template that you guys could kind of work off of, like both this video and the free project file. You know, you could take this project file and do your own thing with it, and you can also take the information from this video and do your own thing with it. So I'll do a few little finishing touches here. I'm gonna let's put an erosion on there for that part before the drop. That sounds good when you have the filter going into that bit crush. And actually, I might keep that on during the drop as well. Nah, it's a little too much. But we can just automate that to come off when the filter turns off. Pretty simple there. And we got a cool little French disco house type of groove. So that's pretty much it for this one. Like I said, I just want to show you guys some techniques and kind of set this up for you so you can do your own thing with it. I've gotten a bunch of requests for this video, so here it is. And yeah, so that's me for today, guys. As always, you can get the project file and samples for free in the description, or as sometimes usual. I'm gonna stop talking here. I'm talking myself into a box. Anyway, you can get the project file and samples from this video for free in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because they'll be available without a download gate. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments. And check out that French house mix that I just dropped as well. It's all in the description. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.